from our family to yours. This is exactly how we cultivated loving discipline in our home, in our real lives as a Montessori family. Nobody wants to feel overwhelmed by their child's behavior. It can very easily become a situation where things are spiraling out of control. You feel like you're losing it. You're not finding your calm that you once had. What are we going to do about it? Well, there are lots of strategies that will give you quick fixes for the moment. But as a Montessori family, we know that cultivating loving discipline strategies and practicing them over time is really the number one thing that is going to work, So no quick fixes here. Here are some real things that we are doing and have done with our kids ever since they were very, very little.
That's right.
Right. So we're not going to be able to fix anything with a single tip, but let's take a shot with our first tip at loving discipline.
This is the first tip for loving discipline.
Okay, this is a very powerful piece of advice. So take it to heart and think about how it might work for your own family. The tip is to empathize with your kids. This is something that we do as a practice, all right? Not just as a strategy to calm a single tantrum, but as a practice every single day. As parents, we empathize with our kids. So let's talk about that. I know that as a Montessorian, loving, gentle discipline is just part of what we do. But there are things that we do as a family to do this specifically that help us.
That's right.
Yeah. What comes to mind for you?
Well, one of the things is to remember what it was like to be a child yourself. And I think we, sometimes we'll say, oh, when I was your age, I did blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
But it's also important to remember that when you were their age, you also had tantrums. It was also really hard. Growing up is super difficult through all the stages. So one of the techniques you can use is to just try and put yourselves into their shoes by remembering what it was like to be little and feeling so unempowered in the world.
Yeah, it can be scary to be a kid. It's scary to be an adult as well, but at least we know what the world is made out of, and we've had all these experiences and relationships in our lives that kind of have built up our expectations about what we're going to encounter. We know that when we go into a particular situation, it's probably going to be like this, right? An art museum, it looks like this. People behave like this. A grocery store looks like this. People behave this way. They expect these things. But children, they don't have all of that wealth of experience behind them. And they also haven't made all of the mistakes that we made as kids and as young adults ourselves. And sometimes parents as well, full-on adults, we make mistakes as well. So it can be, we can have this expectation, I think, as parents, that our children are just going to know how to be well-behaved in every single situation. If we set forth the expectations, this is how you're going to behave, and then it just applies to everything. And that's really unrealistic for kids.
It is, yes.
For every situation they encounter, even if it's just hey, I behaved this way at one playground, now we're at a new playground, it's a totally different ballgame.
That's right.
Right? And so they can feel really insecure very quickly in new situations or even in repeated situations that we as adults, I think we can just kind of expect them to understand what's going on and to keep up. And I told you last time, so didn't you remember that? And the truth is sometimes they do not remember. They need lots and lots of experience in order to remember. Okay,
what's another tip that you might have for helping to get into your kids' shoes?
Okay. So one tip is we're remembering what it was like for us as kids ourselves. Another, I think, that something that I use is to take that pause, that breath of intake to give myself some distance from myself and really take in all of the surroundings that are in. But yeah, I don't know, if there's a specific tip that I'm thinking of.
Well, I think one is to be humble. It's important to remember, as adults, we have a lot of the the weight on our shoulders, no doubt about it. And sometimes we can assume that our own needs come first, right? Or whatever we are feeling is more important. Like it's more important that we get out the door right now and you do what I say. Now, there is obviously a time and a need to help children learn how to work within society. I'm not ever going to say that like loosey-goosey is the way it is. Some children need to learn how to, they need to learn self-control, they need to learn etiquette, they need to learn social grace. They need to learn that their own needs don't always come first. They're part of a unit, whether it's a family unit or a classroom or a job site or whatever, right? Those are important rules to learn. But as the other party, as the adult, the better way to do that is to remember that your own needs, the things that are important to you, they may not understand that. And you need to help them understand the value and to remember that your priorities are maybe not their priorities.
That's a good point. When we were out with our kids, we often would remind each other that their feelings and their needs, their wishes, their desires are just as important as our wishes and our desires. And, this is easier when we were together in some sense because one parent starts feeling frustrated. If both of us are on board with loving discipline, then the other can be like, hey, I think he's feeling a little this way. Yeah. Because often we both tend to not be frustrated at the same time. I don't know. We kind of take turns.
Yeah, I don't know. We do seem to have like when one is up, the other is down. Yeah. So thankfully.
And we've noticed that is true with our kids too. I don't know if anyone who's watching has siblings out there. But what often happened for us as a family is one kid would have a tantrum or would be frustrated, or would be having a particularly hard time. The other cool kid would be 100% cool, right? Like super chill, watching, just like observing, or maybe even on board with us, like trying to help calm the sibling.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that one kid that was having a hard time calmed down and we thought things were like all easy and peachy, the other kid would start having a hard time. And maybe this is just kind of how siblings work. We noticed that this was happening to our kids, and then we noticed like the more we tuned in, the more we noticed that it was like a habit. Like they would take turns, and we also noticed that as parenting partners, we take turns with our parenting as well. Like
that's right.
When one parent is super frustrated, the other parent really needs to find their chill. And so I think we kind of adopted that as part of this empathy.
I mean, we've all been there, parents, where you're going to lose your ever-loving mind because of some nonsense that's going on. Like you just put out one fire and now someone has spilled all the rice all over the floor at the kitchen and you're like, I can't take it anymore. That's where having that partner in the house, your spouse, Aubrey for me, and hopefully vice versa here, helps. And sometimes you literally need to say, please help, take over. Yeah. Don't just try and carry the whole burden. It's a partnership. Raising children is hard work. Don't try and do it alone if you don't have to. Now, we know not everybody is in a situation where they have two adults in the home, and you'll have to use other strategies, but take time for yourself.
I have to say
however
that
you can.
Parents that are single parenting, it's actually really important that you have other adults who are in your life to help you. And there are many ways to get that.
Playgroups.
Yes. I mean, we can talk about, we could talk about au pairs, we could talk about nannies, we could talk about, those kind of childcare solutions. But also, like, what's really important is that you do reach out to other parents and like pull them into your circle. And what I've found, especially as a homeschooler, is that other parents are more than willing to jump in and to help you. And maybe, I personally feel like when I'm asked if I can jump in with extra childcare duties, like sometimes that more than fills my cup. Like, and I just can't, I don't have the capacity to add on extra kids to what I'm doing, and do that kind of physical care. But I do have a lot of capacity to be a witness, to listen, to offer helpful suggestions. And if we're at a playground, like I'm more than willing to happy to watch your kids along as mine, as long as it's like we're in sync. And I'm really happy to go to the zoo with you or plan and do things together and share the support that way. And those kind of relationships can be really, really powerful, and they can help you if you are choosing support friends who are on the same loving discipline path. Then it can be super uplifting to you and very, very helpful to strengthen your own skills. Yeah. However, if you are working with a caregiver or a friend who is on the opposite path, they're more of an authoritarian parent, they're constantly putting their kid in time out, they're constantly punishing their kid, they're using language like manipulative language strategies that are not aligned to loving discipline or your personal parenting philosophy, then it could work against you. So it's not that we shouldn't be, friends with people of all different parenting strategies, but if you're specifically looking for that kind of support from someone who is on the same path as you, that is something to be mindful of in your own friendships.
Yeah, and these strategies that we're talking about with empathy and why positive discipline is so important, you're trying to help create healthy future adults. So in a prior life, I worked in corporate America. I managed people. And the one thing I learned that's true for adults that you're managing is exactly the same as children and every other human being is you can buy someone's time, but you cannot buy their loyalty. So you can give somebody more money. You can give them a prize. You can give them a goodie bag. You can bribe your child with a cookie. You can bribe them with a trip. You will be able to temporarily get out of a situation, but you will not be able to change what's inside. That takes a different mindset. You have to build a relationship with them. And that is, like I said, as true when you're working with grown-ups as it is when you're working with children, whether they're your own or someone else's. So when we talk about putting yourself in their shoes, realizing that their discomforts or needs are real and just as real as yours, even if you need to get to a certain outcome, taking that moment to empathize helps teach them that you are actually committed and you're with it together, and it builds a loving bond that makes it not only easier to work with them in the future, it also prepares them for our children to be better, more successful adults in the future. Now, okay, so let's say you have a little one who's out and they are throwing a great big tantrum in the middle of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that may have
What are you
happened to
gonna
us.
do?
What are you going to do?
You're going to get down on the. I see these mocking social media.
Do you?
Oh, get down. You get down on the. What's wrong, little one? Are you? Is that it? Is that what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to just sort of doe-eyed look at them and feel so sad, oh, you're crying.
Well, I think it's important to realize that your goals are really important. Is your goal to stop the tantrum? Is your goal to avoid public embarrassment for yourself?
Not a bad goal sometimes.
Sometimes not, right? I think that in the positive parenting world, we tend to say, okay, here is the one solution. So yeah, sometimes it is the right thing to do to just sit next to your tantruming child and look at them all doughy-eyed and just wait until they have calmed themselves down, and then address the situation with your other loving discipline strategies. Right? Sometimes that is the perfect thing to do. But if you're in the middle of Chuck E. Cheese and there's all the stimulation around you and there's other parents standing there judging you, there are, okay?
Of course.
There are. And it's hard as respectful, loving parents who are trying to follow that gentle path to just kind of block out all of that judgment. And so a strategy that we really relied on personally was finding the right situation for helping our children through those hard times. And sometimes if you're in a very overstimulating environment like Chuck E. Cheese or any other place that's full of noise and lots of people, sometimes what your child needs is to get out of there.
That's right.
And so it may not look super loving and positive parenting-ish, but we were very much known for, like, if we could see that our kid was on the verge of a meltdown, and if you're watching really closely and observing them, you will be more able to pick that moment.
That's
right. If we notice, like, okay, kids getting overstimulated, or some things aren't going quite right, getting too worked up, we were really known for, like, just picking our kid up and just hauling them out of the public place.
That is because that's a part of the empathy, is understanding, like, maybe there's something in this environment that's causing pain to the child. And the best solution is to get out. So I think where I was going kind of with my, because it really frustrates me when I see that on social media, people making fun.
You're on Twitter.
Or whatever, positive discipline or loving discipline, or even on YouTube, I see people mocking the concept, and because they equate it with something like I don't know, there's this terrible stereotype. And that's not what positive loving discipline is about. Positive loving discipline, for example, in this case where it's about empathy, is about putting yourself in the child's shoes. That's one of the strategies, thinking about what they need. And sometimes what they need is firmer guidance. Sometimes what they need is a hug. Sometimes what they need is to be taken out of the situation. But it starts with the perception with the understanding that you are in a relationship with the child. Your child. And they have human needs just the same as you do, even though they may be immature or young, they're no less human than you are. And when we start with that sense of, I love my child and I want to understand them, you're in a much better footing.
For sure. Yeah. I know those, I know what you're talking about. I tend to keep my social media really clean of that sort of stuff, but I know it is out there. And in our culture, I feel like we came from when we were starting this parenting journey, the idea of gentle discipline, of, like, respectful parenting wasn't as popular as it became over the next 18 years. And we were able to really witness a transition from more authoritarian style of parenting to more gentle and loving discipline style of parenting, getting really, really popular on social media. And now I feel like we're seeing a backlash to that because people are misinterpreting it. And I think there are a lot of factors in our culture that are leading us to, like, being
there's a lot of other frustrations in our society that are being put onto the parenting relationship.
Right. And that is really why it is important that you adopt gentle and loving discipline as a way of life for you and your parenting partners, whoever they are, whoever's interacting with your child and your family. Because when you do communicate that you are able to just feel your child's pain and, feel sorry for them when they are experiencing frustration, and, they're just really having a hard time, and then when that leads you to take action, like whipping your child up. I mean, sometimes even my gentle discipline parent friends were really surprised. They were like, what? Why are you, like, leaving right now? And I'm like, I have to leave right now.
Yeah.
He has to leave right now. I have to leave right now. And maybe some of this is also knowing your child's tolerance and temperament. Some of you are going to have kids that can melt down just like 1 minute fine, 1 minute meltdown. All right.
Yes.
And you're also going to, maybe there are kids out there that
it's
smooth and maybe they kind of work themselves up into a meltdown and you have a longer period to notice it. Or, maybe you have a kid that can actually just has great verbal skills and can come up and just tell you, like, what they need. And if you do, that is great. There are lots of ways to intervene, but what's really, really important, and is that it is super aligned with Montessori philosophy, I would say crucial, is that as part of that observation process, and I've been talking a lot about this recently on Instagram, we talk about it in our primary course, especially when we talk about, like, creating the rhythm and routine for your day. Observation skills are super, super important crucial on the Montessori path. But if you don't cultivate those first, then none of the other gentle, loving discipline strategies really matter. Like, it starts there. It starts with the empathy, with the observation, and you can find all of that inside our Loving Discipline course, which we are offering free to our unlimited members inside our community. If you're here with us, love seeing you here. We're actually going to get started on that tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the kickoff for Unlimited.
That is
for the
right.
Loving Discipline. Yeah.
Yes. It really can, just this loving discipline approach, it can make all the difference in the world in raising your child the Montessori way.
Yeah, and you've got a bunch of tips about empathy in that program and a bunch of other stuff too. So if you're interested in learning more about that program, you can go to our website, childoftheredwoods.com. You'll see a banner there, or you can go to /loving-discipline, and you'll learn all the details. But remember, if you're an Unlimited member, you get this included. This is your February member perk. And if you're in one of our Constellation or Complete, you get 70% off. We're going to reach out to us. We're going to get you a special code. Everybody else, you can find your enrollment information right there on our website.
That's right, childoftheredwoods.com.
Okay. Well, I think this is a great time to welcome our very special guest for the day.
It's me.
Hey, Mr. Bunny.
It's Mr. Bunny.
How's everybody doing? Oh boy, this is such a good time of the year.
I know. I love this time of year too.
Yeah. You know what I love most about it?
What?
It's Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's Day?
Yeah. It's Valentine's Day. Yay, yay, yay. You know what I love about Valentine's Day?
What?
I love everything.
Oh my goodness. What are some of the things you love, Mr. Bunny?
Oh, well, let's see. I love making paper hearts.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you can color them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know what else I like.
What?
I like giving Valentine cards. Yeah.
Yes.
That's super fun too.
It is.
Let's see. Oh, I know something else.
What?
Chocolate. I love chocolate.
Oh, me too, Mr. Bunny.
No, can bunnies?
I don't know. Can rabbits eat?
Can bunnies eat chocolate?
Mr. Bunnies can.
Okay. Okay,
Especially the ones that are shaped like little hearts.
Oh, yes. Those are especially fun. Yes. Oh, I kind of feel sad though.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, why? Valentine's Day time is such a fun, like this whole week is all about Valentine's Day.
Well,
It's so
I
fun.
know.
It's your favorite.
It is, but I just remembered something.
What?
Not everybody has a sweetheart. Oh, no.
Oh. Well,
I guess
Mr.
they don't get chocolates.
Oh, Mr. Bunny.
Yeah.
Oh, Valentine's Day isn't just about romantic love. I know the commercials might lead you to think that.
It isn't?
No, it's not. It's about all kinds of love.
Like what?
Well, like the love between a mother and a child, or a father and a child, or between a brother and a sister, or two brothers or two sisters, or
Oh, I like that.
or friends. It could be friend love as well.
Oh, yes. Oh,
How about love for pets?
oh, yes. I love it. Okay, I can't wait. Well, happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Valentine's Day.
Wait a minute, Mr. Bunny. It's
Actually not Valentine's Day.
What do you mean?
Well,
You just said happy Valentine's Day.
it occurs to me, today is the 11th, it's Tuesday. Valentine's Day is actually on the 14th.
Oh, well, is that a long time?
It's just a few days.
Okay. Well, the important thing is it's very soon.
It's very soon.
Is
But
it now?
You know what? Oh, well, it's not quite now, but it is very soon on Friday.
Very soon. It's Friday. Okay. Today is, what day is today? Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Is it Valentine's Day yet?
It's almost, you know what? I think we should just change it. We
What?
should just have Valentine's week.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yay. What can we do to celebrate Valentine's Day?
Well, we can do all the things that you love.
Oh,
we can
yay.
make the little paper hearts, and maybe we'll go get some chocolate.
Oh,
and we
boy.
We'll give lots of hugs to our friends.
I love hugs. Can I have a hug?
You may have a hug.
Oh, thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.
Well, that Mr. Bunny, he's so excited for Valentine's Day.
He really is. And I love it too. Every single year, I know the kind of the schoolish way to celebrate Valentine's Day is to make one day of it and to just spend the day writing, Valentine's, then maybe the night before, like you go to the store, buy a bunch of pre-written Valentine's cards, and then you just make your kids sign their name, right? Well, as homeschoolers, we've never done that. They have always made their Valentine's Day cards from scratch. Fortunately, we never really have to make them produce enough Valentine's cards for an entire classroom like the night before. Usually we would hand them out at Park Day, so it didn't matter whether it was actually a Valentine's Day or not. It was like somewhere around Valentine's.
Just a Valentine's season.
We would bring a little bag of, just some kind of crafty little heart project that we had worked on together. An easy way to do that, I found, was to have our kids do some watercoloring on paper and then draw hearts and just cut them out. That way.
And this is a great activity. Cutting on a line is a classic primary activity.
Yeah.
So folding those hearts, I'm sure you've all done that before, where you fold the paper and you draw half a heart and cut it out. It is a awesome activity to do with kids. Any of your kids, if they think Mr. Bunny is fun, then they're old enough to enjoy cutting on a line.
In fact, I think we have a whole YouTube video all about concentric hearts. And so that we shared maybe last year for Valentine's Day.
Go check the archive. It's in there somewhere. But yeah, have fun out there for Valentine's Day. All right. Let's go back to our tips for loving discipline. So we talked about empathy.
Yes.
Okay. What is another thing that we want to bring up today?
Well, when you find yourself, my legs are falling asleep today.
This new studio setup.
When you find yourself exhausted, maybe it's the middle of the day, or maybe it's been a particularly draining week where there's been lots of meltdowns, or maybe you yourself have been melting down a lot. It is important, and we have adopted this as a strategy ourselves, to try to intentionally have fun with the kids. This is a strategy that our family, we intentionally use repeatedly over and over to try to build stronger, healthier relationships with our kids.
That's right.
Even if we're not feeling like it. And sometimes, as we've talked about earlier, David will be having a bad day. I'll be having a great day. I'll be having a bad day. He'll be having a great day. And so if we make intentional time to be together as a family and to have intentional fun, even if one of us isn't in the fun-loving mood, the other will remind that person that that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's like real life loving discipline strategy, in a dual parenting role, right? But we also use this strategy for ourselves when we're individually alone with kids. Things that seem to be tanking, things are a little more stressful than usual, we will intentionally try to laugh more. You look up some jokes and start telling silly jokes to each other. You can
maybe get yourself an adorable little puppet.
Get yourself a puppet and make that puppet talk funny. I am really well known in our house for doing a little bit of dramatic skipping into rooms and impromptu dancing and silly singing. My kids love it. They know that that's kind of my thing. I don't really know why I do it. It's just because it makes life sillier and more fun.
The theater kid in you has never gone away.
I know, it never went away. And it's so funny because normally, we're pretty serious people, but we know that laughter is a key to happiness long term. It makes you less stressed. It
actually literally releases, I think, cortisol into your body. Laughter is the best medicine. It is true. It makes you happier. It literally makes you happier because of the way that the brain chemistry works. So if your child is having that meltdown moment, or you are on the verge, finding time or a way to have some fun.
Now, maybe not while they're in the middle of a meltdown.
No, because that can be diminishing or demeaning. But no, for sure. Finding the time to have some fun. Now, it doesn't have to be har fun. It could just be levity, like enjoying your time together. So what are some of the ways that you remember trying to bring a little fun into the relationship after let's say the meltdown? Like not during the meltdown to distract per se, but could be. But what do you remember us doing to try to bring that joy?
Okay, so literally, as I mentioned, like dancing into the room and singing. This is like a daily, 2 times a day strategy that that I learned to do that would kind of get us kicked off. Sometimes it was first thing in the morning, kind of like thinking what would make things more sunshiny in the moment. And so something that just became routine was leaning into that kind of silly, goofy play. And our kids responded really well to it. Like they love being silly and goofy. I think most kids do.
Yeah.
I won't say that it's universal, but
I've
I will
never
say
personally met a child who didn't enjoy some silliness. But yeah, it really works. In fact, most adults kind of like a little silliness too, even the ones who are a little uptight, who secretly actually enjoy silly things a little bit.
They do. So I don't know. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about this, about playing along with your kids, like making time to play with them. And one of the things I remember our kids really loving to do was playing with stuffies.
Oh, yes.
So, we have lots of puppets around our house. You probably have seen Mr. Bunny once or twice. But Mr. Bunny's not the only puppet that lives here in this house. There are many puppets and have been many puppets over the years. And there are many, many stuffies in this house.
Yeah.
Stuffed in closets right now.
Our youngest, actually both of our kids, but especially our youngest, I remember he really got into cubbies. And he had a whole collection of cubbies, and they all had different personalities. And so that was an important way to sort of like build the bond. And when there was tension or it had a bad day or there had been some kind of a issue, going and playing cubbies was a really great way to connect. He loved it. It let you kind of play out some of the frustration. This goes to the empathy thing, right? Like you're able to voice through the little characters what might be happening, and you can get a lot of information out and help them sort of think through it in that way. So not only is it fun, but it matches right to that first tip we gave, which is about empathy. So I know most kids really like playing with stuffies of some type, whether they're obsessed with the Cubby family like ours was, or it's something else. Those are a great way, dolls, cubbies, stuffies of some type, to help sort of play act through the frustration. It's fun and it's cathartic.
It is. What David does with Mr. Bunny on our show, I think gives a little insight to the way David played a lot with our kids when they were little with stuffies. He would watch the kids, again, starting with that observation, watch kind of the things that our kids were struggling with or frustrations that they were having. Are they feeling hungry a lot and constantly running for snacks? Or, what are the overstimulating things that are happening that would cause certain emotions? And then when our kids were just like sitting around, David would get out some puppets or
whatever,
or even just
a little
like just
car, anything
like
can talk.
Any little toy. I was thinking you used to do a lot with like your little man.
Yeah, little man.
Kind of make a little character kind of dance around, and then I think a lot of people I think that they think that you really have to be like a theater person or kind of trained in order to do the whole stuffed animal puppet thing. And you really don't. What's actually best for kids is if your puppet acts kind of like in a situation that your kid has engaged in recently. So really you can pick any problem that you have noticed your kid having, and then just have your puppet or your stuffy have that problem, and then have them ask them what they might do to help, and with their stuffy or their doll or whatever it is. And so I know, like, is this intentionally having fun? Well, sometimes it kind of feels like a chore, but
Yeah, for you as the adult, it can feel like a chore, right? Because you probably have actual chores you need to do. But
Right.
this is the work at hand. And so
This is part of the intentional fun.
that's right.
And it doesn't mean that you have to sit and play with your kids' stuffies forever. You know, you don't have to sit there for the whole hour. You can just play for a little bit, and then you're like, well, I'm done, and I'm just going to sit here and do my other thing.
And they might come up and say, let's play more, let's play more. And you may not be able to. You have to be ready
Or
to
want
set,
to.
Or want to, right? And you have to set the boundaries. But that's fine. It's okay. Because actually part of what you also want the child to do is to go off and play by himself or herself or with a sibling. That sort of lonely time is super critical for kids. So don't underestimate what it is. You don't always have to entertain them. Creating a fun environment or sparking the fun and then letting them run with it is great. I want to also underline something that is a real pet peeve of mine. I love going to Disneyland and places like that, but it's the lesson about Christmas Day. The box is always more appreciated than the toy inside the box because children don't need a lot of stuff. We actually, as humans, don't need a lot of stuff either. We're kind of surrounded ourselves with all kinds of junk. But in actuality, we humans need very little in order to find satisfaction. In fact, the simpler, more natural, pure, open-ended the project or product or thing is, generally the more exciting, inviting, engaging it is. And so I, of course, have great memories of taking my kids to go to Disneyland or something like that. But I think when they think back to their childhood, their little childhood when they were younger, they remember playing cubbies or cars or me telling stories.
Being in nature,
climbing a rock, wrestling, all those kinds of things that cost $0. So don't overweight those big special moments. That you can have a lot of joy. In fact, you can have the best joy for nothing.
Yeah, I talk a lot about this in our community about our dance parties. That was something that we did every single day while homeschooling when our kids were little, was stopping, having a dance party, and then moving on with the rest of the day. And it was like intentional fun. Even if I wasn't feeling fun, I would make myself dance. And you know what? By the time we were all had danced for like 10 minutes really hard, and dancing for us was like just jumping up and down.
Yeah, put on some music. We bought a little disco ball at some point. Remember that?
We did. That's
yeah,
true.
and they thought it was great. It's very, very simple. Lots of fun.
We did
and that's
a lot
it. Just
of,
having a light, joyful moment.
Chicken dance while racing around the house. Our kids were really high energy little ones. And,
Yes. And
so,
still are.
Yeah, but that was a rhythm. That was something we incorporated into our rhythm, was like, hey, this is fun. It's intentional. We're going to have dance party. We're going to do it. And also I think like sharing, being joyful about our own hobbies while inviting the kids into our hobbies was something that we did for
so I love to play
fun.
the guitar, and so I would play and invite children to strum the guitar, or they would get little guitars of their own, or they would sit and play with us, or with your clay, you would invite them to come and do clay work with you at the table, or painting when you were learning how to watercolor. Yeah, so inviting them in to your joy is really good. And that goes again with that sense of like, what is the empathy all about? It's about creating like an actual emotional connection. You're wanting to teach them how to empathize with you as much as you're empathizing with them, and you're doing that through modeling.
Yes. Now, I know that this doesn't seem like it's a discipline strategy.
It is.
But it is. Okay,
100% it is.
It is an essential discipline strategy for you. If you are trying to tame the meltdowns, to calm down those tantrums, to get your kid to be more compliant and cooperative with you, your child is just telling you no a lot and won't put on their clothes and get ready to go, won't get ready for the day, won't eat all their veggies, like whatever it is that is going on that is causing a lot of turmoil and anxiety in your house, like this is a core strategy that is completely overlooked in a lot of parenting strategy books.
Yeah, because those strategies often focus on sort of a quick fix. But I'm going to repeat what I said in the first segment. You can buy or bribe somebody's time, right? That's an extrinsic motivator, to put it in different language. What you want is intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation is the commitment, the compassion, courage, love that doesn't come overnight. You can't write a check for that. You can't go to a special place for that. You have to invest in time. Every time you teach them how to have joy after a stressful event where they had a meltdown, you are giving them tools that they will use for the rest of their life
Yep.
to be happier, healthier people.
Right. Yes. So if you are ready to embrace this strategy, finding more joy, more laughter in your loving discipline life with your child as a Montessori family, you are welcome to join us for the Loving Discipline course.
Absolutely. Head over to our website, childoftheredwoods.com/loving-discipline for more
Yes.
details. Remember, unlimited members, you've got this included. And if you're a complete or Constellation member, 70% off enrollment. We will reach out with details. Okay.
Yes. No, go ahead.
One more tip for today, I think, unless you had something else to add.
No.
Yes.
That's all.
Great. We have a third tip.
Okay. Here's our third tip. If you are struggling to get your kids to cooperate, you're feeling disconnected with them during the day, and you want a healthier, happier relationship with your child, I want you to try this, all right? Adopt the Montessori mindset of purposeful work.
Yes.
All right. Something that we do intentionally in our family to cultivate that loving relationship and have healthy, positive discipline strategies is to work together with our kids on tasks, right? So these tasks can be anything from household chores to engaging in the community, picking up trash, to serving other people in the community, going to a retirement center. I remember one time like singing for people there, working together to do something good. All right. And it can be very small, or it can be something that's like part of a larger community event, but it's really, really important that you build these working together parts into your daily life.
Yeah, so this could be all kinds of stuff. I already mentioned a few, the volunteer type work, but it also is stuff around your house. So getting your kids involved in the daily cooking is a part of a purposeful working together life. Cleaning together is a part of a purposeful working together life.
Yes.
What else? Gardening. If you love to garden, or you have a garden, or doing yard work, it's appealing to kids. You're inviting them in. This goes back to that first step again about empathy. You're building an empathetic relationship one to the other. And remember, it's not just you empathizing with them. You're trying to teach them how to empathize with others as well, right? You're modeling that behavior, and you're creating a relationship between the two of you. So when you do things like work together, you strengthen that bond.
That's right.
Now, this doesn't mean to say that if you're in the middle of a situation, let's say you go back to Chuck E. Cheese, and they're throwing a tantrum, you're not going to give them a little rag and say, hey, clean up your mess. This will be awesome. Right.
Wow.
You have to remove them from the situation, see if you can calm them. If you can go back into the situation, back into the environment, or whatever your immediate strategy is, right? And a lot of times the immediate strategy is simply you have to take the child out of the environment if you can and try and reset. But this is the stuff you do in between, the actual hard ground foundational work that makes those moments less often. And when they do happen, it makes recovery faster.
I actually am thinking that I'm thinking as you were talking about like your kid is having a meltdown or whatever, like when do you implement this strategy? I'm remembering often at home, I would notice like you kind of gauge your kid's temperament for the day. Like, are they edgy? Are they hyper? And so for those days when they were really out of control and just like bouncing off the walls, we would try and think big, purposeful work together task.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were just completely made up. I remember washing things is really appealing to kids. So anything with like gross motor skills.
Yeah.
So we're thinking like, how about like washing the car by hand, right? Lots
Oh,
of water
sure.
and
That's a lot
soap.
of fun.
Washing your wall. If you have a big wall in your
Getting a
home,
little sponge.
you're going to get
and-
some sponges, a whole bunch of water. You're not just going to spray a little bit and then wash a little bit. You're like soapy water, and you are washing with your whole body.
Washing the tile of like a bathroom tile floor.
The bathtub is what I was thinking. I was
bathtub's a good
thinking
one,
scrubbing the bathtub or scrubbing the bathroom floor. Hopefully it's moderately clean-ish, right?
Yeah,
Like maybe give it
no
a wipe,
biohazard, please.
give it a wipe down first, and then assign that big scrubbing task.
Yeah,
Same with the kitchen floor, the counter. Think a big area or a big task that all of you can work on together to make like really shiny and clean. Plants. If you've got lots of plants around your house, I remember thinking like kids are like really needing to be engaged right now. They're really out of control. Hey, we got a problem. Our plants are so thirsty. What are we going to do? We need to water them. Let's do it. And then we all work together to accomplish the task. And now this plant is happy. Now this plant is happy. If you can make it like the bigger you can make the task, the more energy that is put into it, the more the reward of like the feeling of like if things feel really, really good.
Yeah, they do. I mean, why does this work? I mean, it works because I think Maria would say it works because it's within our human nature to find purposeful work satisfying. And when we engage in purposeful work and we feel that satisfaction, it releases endorphins and other things in our brains that makes us feel better. And that can help with mood regulation. So what I liked about it is, I think sometimes when we think about discipline, we're thinking about the kettle that's already whistling because it's boiling, right? They are having the tantrum. And what we're talking about is having strategies where you're watching and you're in your child's mind, or seeing from their point of view well enough that you can kind of anticipate when things are coming so that you can take the kettle off the heat before it starts to whistle. And that can be, let's have some fun. That could be a tip. Or in this case, let's do something together. Let's do a project. Let's go wash the walls.
Like a physical project.
Let's water all the plants. Let's rake the leaves in the garden. Let's do something big and a lot of gross motor, and we're really moving ourselves, and we look back and we say, boy, we did a great job.
Yeah.
And you feel real good.
Picking up trash at the local playground or
A beach cleanup,
on the beach or wherever you are.
in the park.
Yes, safely, of course. Like they make those little grabber things for a reason, and they're really fun for kids to use.
Use your common sense. Yeah.
Not all kids have the motor skills. You can definitely give your kids gloves. You can also give them boundaries within it, like we don't pick up glass. We only pick up like trash with the gloves that's made out of plastic, and it goes right in the trash can.
You can pick up plastic bottles with the grabber.
Right.
So, and it's whatever, the age and readiness of your child, you'll know that before you give them that task. But don't be afraid to engage them in real adult type work.
Yes.
It will really tickle them.
It'll calm them. It'll make them feel like they're part of the community, that they are worthy. It's just going to have healthier effects all around.
Yeah, when you feel that, and I like what you just said, because that is, to me, the whole purpose of why we discipline. I hate the idea of discipline as compliance. Mm-hmm. What we want are people to be effective, good members of community. And that means understanding the needs of the community, working together, learning when you need to speak up, learning when you need to sit down, learning when you need to work together, learning when you need to lead. Like, those are hard things, but that's what makes societies work. And that starts when they're very little, and we're teaching them that they have a real place in the community, whether that is the community of the home or the neighborhood or the city or the country or the world, whatever it is, that they have a role to play in that. And that role comes with a responsibility, what we would call the social contract. Yep. And that's what the discipline really is all about. It's not just about getting somebody to comply with the rule. It's about actually teaching them to be self-fulfilled humans.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Like when we think about discipline, we really do think, okay, like what do I do when my child hits me? Like, how do I get them to stop hitting? All right. Well, there are some immediate things that you can do to set boundaries and to teach your children appropriate behavior. But I mean, people would laugh if I said like the answer is actually cooking with your kids, or it's actually the answer is actually tending plants in your garden and picking up trash together and washing your car together and cleaning up, cultivating the shelf. Oh my gosh, kids love to work together to set up a shelf. So often parents in Montessori will think, I'm supposed to cultivate the whole shelf myself. You know what? Maria Montessori believed in that it was the adult's primary responsibility to prepare the environment. But guess what? She actually taught the children how to do it and did it with them, right? So it was part of the classroom rhythm. Maria Montessori and whoever the adult, teacher that was in there, every single day, that person and the kids all got little dusting mitts or cloths, and they dusted the materials on the shelves together. They worked together to do this. Yeah. And because it was like every single day the children were invited in to work with them, their spirits calmed. And Maria Montessori was just documenting this and noticing like, okay, like, so here's what we're going to try. We're going to try inviting the children to dust the shelves. We're going to put out these little dusters, and we're going to, every single day, I want you, the teacher, to invite the children to come in and work with you rather than you just cleaning up when they're gone. Invite them in to come and dust with you. And then she noticed like, ooh, the children are more cooperative. Ooh, the children seem more engaged. Ooh, the children are more willing to help others when other times when someone else is in need. They have a sense of ownership. Yeah, they feel more confident. The children are better behaved. How could this be? How could dusting a shelf make your child better behaved and more cooperative?
Every teacher knows that the best classroom discipline comes from good lesson planning. It's the same if you're homeschooling. And that's what this whole inviting them to be part of the shelf is about, because that is a part of the curriculum. It's a big part. And
these are actually literal lessons you will find in our complete curriculum within the practical life. What do we call it? The lessons. Yeah. Lessons and activities document. Yeah. You'll find those lessons in there, and they are not meant. I know that there's this perception in Montessori that with practical life activities that you're supposed to like put a little activity on a tray and then go put it on the shelf and then just show your child what to do, and then that's it. That's the magic. But that is not the case. These practical life and grace and courtesy lessons that are within that core subject are meant to be repeated over and over and over and over and over by themselves and together, by themselves and together, And if you do this adopt this as a part of your way of life with your child, it is a discipline strategy. Right.
Absolutely right.
Right.
All right. Well, we are happy to invite you to experience the rest of the tips. We have a whole bunch of awesome tips for how to use loving discipline in your home. You can check that out in our course, the Loving Discipline course, which you can find on our website, childoftheredwoods.com/loving-discipline, or just head over to the website, childoftheredwoods.com, and you'll see the link there. You can get all the details. It's a really fun program. There's 3 hours of video. There's a self-paced course. We've got a learning journal. There's 3 live Q&A workshops that Aubrey's leading over the course of the next month. We're only enrolling for the next couple of days as well. So if you're interested in this, you have to take advantage now or it'll close. We're actually also limiting the number of folks. So remember, if you're watching and you're already a member, unlimited members, you already have access. It's just a benefit. This is your February member benefit. If you're in the complete or constellation plans, you can get up to 70% off. We'll get you a special code. Make sure you reach out before you register. If you're not a member, you can just sign up for this course, or you could join one of our plans. And depending on what level you join at, you would get this either at a discount or for free. Just let us know. You can find us online, childoftheredwoods.com. Click the chat button if you want more details. Send us an email at hello@childoftheredwoods. Whatever it is, just go ahead and have some fun. Have some fun. for Valentine's. Have some fun with your discipline.
That's right. Have fun with your discipline. I love that. All right. Take care, friends.
Bye.
Have a great day.